What's up, exiles? It's Hegemony here, and today I wanted to go over my Flame Blast Templar self-cast in the 1 month hardcore league. I recently just died, mainly due to my bad choice of playing on a food coma and playing inebriated. It wasn't a good decision. If it was the 4 month, I'm pretty sure I would have just gone to sleep. But I ended up playing and I died to the first pack, just super complacent and tired. And now I get to share about the build and how you guys can do it. Self found. I did this character self found till 78, and it was working really well. I did get exhausted of trying to get certain items like blood dance boots and among other things. But it ended up working out pretty good. We'll look at how the gear started. I found this wand. I don't remember where I found it. I think it was in docks. But it served the purpose for Flame Blast because of Echo. And any amount of cast speed that you get with this build, as long as you're using the Echo gem, will get multiplied by Echo, because Echo does 66% more cast speed. So every amount of cast speed gets multiplied. So you got nothing special, just mana, resist, spell damage. Moving on to the helmet, we have life, mana, evasion, energy shield, because I do end up going Eldritch Battery. We got dual res, not so great. This shield, 51% or 51 life, 12 all res, 4% block. It's a pretty decent shield. I would have preferred something more substantial in life. The ES is not bad, 172. And then I found a Tabula Rasa in Ledge. So the links of Flame Blast go Flame Blast, Spell Echo, LE Prolif, Fire Penetration, Increase Burn, and Chance to Ignite. Now, none of these gems will, until they're actually, some of them are quality, will increase the tooltip DPS of Flame Blast. In fact, Spell Echo will actually reduce the tooltip DPS because of the 10% less damage on the gem. So just because the tooltip doesn't reflect high numbers does not mean it's not potent. This is a burn-based build, so you get a lot of benefits from just burning and exhausting multiple cases of ignite or ignition. I did end up finding Dodries very early. I want to say level 40 or 50, which is like a very underrated item when it comes to early starts in a fresh league. Dual curses allow you to do amazing things. Curses are so strong, and completely nullifying or completely making vulnerable is a huge asset in this game and your success. This ring was nothing special. The only thing that I was able to siphon off of this was the resist and the 4 maximum energy shield, which is like mana. Pretty lackluster ring, and I still used that until I died. This necklace was very good. I found this very early. Actually, this was the quest reward from Solaris. Normally you don't get anything from her, but this is one of the most amazing quest rewards I've been returned for the necklace. As far as the gloves, if I can highlight it, there we go. It was strength, dex, lightning resist, and really good life. So what does this mean? Honestly, this is almost like having tri-res on gloves. People seem to underrate these suffixes, but you do struggle with good amounts of strength and dex in this build, especially dex, and I'll show you later on how much dex you can actually get. This belt I used forever and ever, and this is one of the things that I replaced when I went off self-found. But all this stuff was self-found with the exception of blood dance boots. I bought these for 2 chaos, and I'll explain why I use those. Just your typical flasks. So we look at the tree. Why Templar? Why not go Witch? Templar is a very excellent AoE based spellcaster. I feel like the starting Templar is just super weak to justify going melee. Therefore, unless you're directly AoE involved, running on mana as melee, because you would have to go mana regen, weapon LE 12, and then go through these nodes, which is not bad. It's much better than going through these 12, 10, 10, 10s, like one-handed and two-handed. So if you are going like elemental sweep or something, or elemental ground slam, you know, this may be better, much better Templar start. However, if you're going to run a melee-based character, I highly suggest Marauder or Duelist. So I feel the strongest success comes from AoE-based elemental spec for Templar. I immediately went to Celestial Walker, then got Amplify. I was using Ice Nova, Fire Trap to level. It was very, very easy. You have easy access to some quality life nodes. You got 1% life regen here and 1% here. And Prestidigitation is pretty good, especially with Flame Blast because it's got cast speed. The mana regen, Flame Blast does cost a lot of mana, especially early on. You're going to be spamming those mana pots just like you would in a Descent Champions. We go over to these 888s to get to Elementalist. It's okay. I mean, so far it's not bad. It's pretty efficient. These 888s are kind of lackluster because you can get 15s with fire resistance, but Elementalist does make up for a little bit of it. These are pretty good. This is a pretty good half wheel, I would say. But coming out of this way, I think is extremely inefficient. We get Elemental Adaptation, and this is something that you only get when you're actually able to utilize it. There's no point in picking this up if you're running 73 all res, because you know it's worthless. We get up to Holy Strength. Holy Strength increases. It's like a mini Inner Force node, so it will buff Arctic Armor and things like that. Your shield block nodes. Now, why did I go this? Because outside of Celestial Walker, where you have 12 all res, you're going to get 20 more here. You don't really have enough time to go all the way down and get the Marauder Whale and then come back up and over to get all that stuff. So your all resistance is going to be very limited as far as accessibility, and I feel like this is, you know, probably one of the best areas. 20 all res for 2 nodes. On top of that, you get 4% block chance and 20% defenses. This will also affect if you have a good energy shield or something with substantial amount of energy shield. You'll have more mana, so this means more mana and block. When your gear becomes better, you can actually drop these two and pick up spell block and additional block. So that would be the transition here. I would definitely recommend, especially going self-found, hardcore, you need resist. So you only have Celestial Walker and these to help you. And you don't pick up these burns until you find an LE Prolif. There's no point in picking up these until that's, you know, you find that specific gem, and not only do you find it, but you make it work in the links. It's not worth it to pick up these until you have the Prolif, in my opinion. Alright, so pretty much it came down, got all these goodies for sure, and then I started to work my way down through and beelined it towards Eldritch Battery. I think I actually finished this wheel. I got more life and more strength because I was definitely struggling on strength because I wanted to be able to pick up like plate armor and wear it. And then I got Eldritch Battery. After I got Eldritch Battery, I went for Deep Wisdom. After Deep Wisdom, I think I went for these flask nodes to get more life mana here. After that, I went for this area node, Blast Radius. Now, I think I went over and under. Hold on, let me think about this. No. Actually, I just went like this. I got Blast Radius. And then after I picked up Blast Radius, I didn't get these quite yet. I went towards Mental Acuity. Oh, actually, I picked up these life nodes. Along the way when I was traveling, I picked up these life mana nodes. Sorry about that. I missed that. I'm just trying to remember exactly how I pathed while I was leveling. So I went towards Mental Acuity, and you ask, why did you go for Mental Acuity? I wanted more life. At the time, this is just damage and quality of life type thing. And I wanted this Blaze, Chance to Ignite. So Chance to ignite, what does that mean? That means you do not require to crit. It's a flat chance to ignite. So crit or no crit, if you have a quality flame blast right here, it's a 20 quality flame blast, you have a 30% chance to ignite. Combined with blaze, you have a 35% chance to ignite. Okay, so you have a flame blast right here with a 35% chance, and if you use a curse like flammability, let me find that for you guys real quick. Flammability, that gives you another 13%. It's all additive, so you have a 48% chance to ignite on top of whatever your crit chance is. My crit chance is very low, 7.8, so that also has a chance to ignite. Overall, it's pretty good with just the quality and blaze and flammability. This is the main reason, like I started with Tabula Rasa, but I had to trim to a 5-link carcass jack. So I trimmed out chance to ignite. Gives me 43% chance. I felt like this was, you know, the one that I should drop because Spell Echo is a must. Increased burn damage was really nice, especially on single targets, mobility, and your pro lifts. Your fire penetration, another thing, like when mobs have elemental resistances or they're resistant to fire, this really shines in those cases. And then elemental pro lift, which is mandatory. If you don't have a 20 quality flame blast, then I highly suggest that you use chance to ignite over fire penetration or increased burn, either or. It's situational based. One will be better in certain situations, but chance to ignite should definitely be tossed into the mix if you do not have a quality flame blast, because you will ignite very seldomly. And after picking up blaze, I got these life nodes, very strong, 12-12, 20-20s. And then I proceeded to get Shaper because I was having a mana regeneration problem. I was running very low Arctic armor. Then I picked up Harrier, Aura Effect nodes. These are very nice. This also scales with Echo. But the 5% reduction and the 8% effectiveness were going to benefit Clarity, Discipline, and Purity of Fire. Once I got that, I went for Inner Force to buff up the current Arctic armor that I was running. And then I believe I got these area nodes last, along with Elemental Dominion. And what's really nice about Witch Start is that you are able to access these awesome DPS nodes for Flame Blast. You get 4 cast speed and 16 spell damage, 16 spell damage. That's more than Immolation is going to do for you. This will, along with the travel that it takes to get there. Also, it's way more than these cast speed nodes are actually 4/4/4s, but they only become 4/4/4s when you get nimbleness. So this wheel is kind of deceiving. It's a way to get extra cast speed, which is not bad, but you can get 4/4 here's and then you get 16s. So Witch Start is very good. How does the Witch compare to Templar? You kind of go to the reverse. You'd get more damage to begin with. I don't think I would start this way as Witch. I would think I would just go up and over and out. It would be way more squishier than the Templar initially, but you can make it work as Witch. And then you would sacrifice maybe these area nodes, these elemental nodes. Not sure if you want to get Celestial Walker, you can, or you would miss out on this mana regen node. But you can end up making it look roughly like the same thing. Alright, so Eldritch Battery converts all your energy shield to mana. That's what you need to know. So any energy shield that appears up on your gear, essentially look at it like mana, and it all gets multiplied in your Arcane Focus. This is kind of like a mana node now. So you get a different perspective of how you see this tree. These nodes become like mana nodes, so they're not bad. They're initially bad, but like having these nodes and not having Eldritch Battery is going to be very bad. But why did I decide to do this? Because I wanted to spend the least amount of regrets. I knew I could handle the situation, so I just beelined it, you know, the correct path to Eldritch Battery instead of going up and over and then respecking to go under. Outside of that, you have 2% life regen through the tree. One right here, 1% here, and 1% here. But what's also nice is that you have life regen on your boots. And I went for skill points, I went HP, and then I went, second one was skill point. I didn't get the cast speed. I think it's 4% cast speed. And then I got the frenzy charge. And why the frenzy charge? Because I'm using blood dance boots. And 30% of the time when you get a kill, it's kind of like blood rage, but it's like budget blood rage, and it's not so good in parties when you are not getting killing blows. If you're doing bulk of the damage, it's still going to be very, very effective. So running around, you know, just AoEing, killing mobs normally will net you frenzy charges like this. Already gave me 3 frenzy charges. It's very, very easy, especially if you're mapping by yourself, to keep up these frenzy charges. So 4% frenzy charges that get reduced in cast speed. So frenzy charges give you 5% cast speed per frenzy charge. However, the blood dance dudes has a drawback, 3% reduced, so you're only getting 2 per. So I get a total of 8% cast speed when I have max frenzy charges. On top of that, the side benefits, I get 8% movement speed, so these boots become 28% movement speed. And like I said, this is a build that's really struggles on getting dex. What do you need dex for? Temp chains and Arctic armor. Those are the most, and if you want to run Grace later, you can. But you're going to need 151 dex to run a max level Grace. I have 150, but mainly because of the helmet having 46 and the boots having 37. I don't think I have anything else with dex on it. Oh, and the necklace having 30. Alright, so just to go over blood dance again, you get 4% life regen when you do have the 4 frenzy charges. You get movement speed bonuses. The cast speed isn't as good. However, you can also pick up conduit. So another part of this build that makes it successful defensively while you're running armorless, 117 armor with 1% physical damage reduction. The damage reduction that Arctic armor does is flat, and because it's so strong right now, I'm able to just like face tank a lot of rapid successive, you know, minor hits of damage and physical damage and fire. So you notice in here I can just bathe in it because Arctic armor is doing the reduction. On top of that, what it does is any mob that runs in melee range, like a leaper, will actually get slowed like temp chains because of the chilled ground that it leaves. Now you say, well I heard about flame blast being built, or flame blast builds being horrible against reflect. Now if you have Arctic armor, each individual hit is mitigated by Arctic armor. So you notice I had a full charge flame blast there, and LE reflect is the same everywhere. As far as the mob, the map mod versus the rare mod is different, but as you can see, you can fully charge a flame blast, and if you have a, mine's not even fully leveled Arctic armor, but each individual hit gets mitigated, and then the total of whatever's left over gets reflected back to me. That's why this is such a safe build against reflect. The higher Arctic armor you have, the less you're going to take from LE reflect. So that, oh shit, shouldn't make a mistake, you know, you have a big buffer with AA. If you don't run AA and you accidentally throw off a big flame blast on a LE reflect pack, you could die. I mean, I've done it a couple of times, mainly when I'm switching zones, because it's something like Blood Rage where you always have to toggle it. However, it lasts indefinitely until you run out of mana, then it will turn off. So if you take a big burst of damage, I would highly recommend that you keep checking that to see if your Arctic armor is still on. And one way is to look up here, look at the screen, you know, ice shards. There are a couple tells. Your auras, I have the microtransactions, so I'm getting snowed on all the time. And whenever you don't notice these things, that means, hey, you probably better turn on your Arctic armor. I've done it about 4 or 5 times where I lit into a LE reflect pack, and I think the lowest I got was like 40% health with good gear and stuff like that. Okay, so let's take a look at the rest of the gear that I went self-found with. So I kind of tiered off. When I stopped going self-found, I bought, let's see, the gloves were different because strength, dex, ES, and mana, all the stuff that I needed to maximize my mana pool. One thing to note is discipline. Discipline is an aura that gives you 288 energy shield, and it's like, why, people ask, why reserve your mana to get more mana? And the answer is mana regen. So although I can't run like Grace or something instead of Discipline, like, we'll take a look at my mana regeneration. My mana regeneration at this moment is 217.5 with just Clarity. But when I add Discipline, it goes to 262. So it gives me 50 mana regen. That's the whole purpose of Eldritch Battery Discipline Aura, is to maximize your total mana so that the rest of your mana regen gets multiplied or takes more effect. Seeing as how I have this much mana after reserve, if I can get to the 4.5k ES range and pick up Sovereignty, I can do a lot of things. I can either run Grace or I can pick up Purity of Lightning. And my plan was, provided that I stayed alive in hardcore, was using Purity of Lightning to carry my lightning resist. Because right now, if I turn off Purity of Fire, I'm under the cap, but that is completely okay because Purity of Fire will compensate everything through the aura. I'm now 116, and it'll give me max. I plan to do the same thing with lightning resistance. What was I going to do with all those extra stat slots on my gear? I was going to convert that into chaos resistance. Now, when I died to a chaos mobs, and I had negative 44 chaos resistance. You know, these kinds of things you just don't really think about when you're super tired and, you know, partially drunk. So that was a miscalculation, you know, on my part. You just, so, you know, you get so easy or so comfortable with the build, and you get complacent and you make bad decisions, things like that. Alright, so let's go back and take a look at the gear. So what changed? I found a Wrath Pith in a precinct. Wrath Pith is like the ideal shield for this because it provides you both block and spell block, and it also justifies the means of going Bulwark if you want to. Until you get Wrath Pith, I don't suggest that you pick up Bulwark right away. This is something you can do in the future to get more block and also convert to spell block. What else changed? This ring, so I switched this ring, which had no health but just gave me resist. I was getting better on resist, so I decided I want mana regen so I can push my Arctic armor higher. And then I bought this belt. I think it was for like 10 chaos or 5 chaos, something like that. But I bought this belt to cover some of the, to get more life essentially. The flasks are nothing, you know, amazing. You're sapping. I would rather have dual seething, but I was having problems crafting them, and I just use a seething, curse removal, quicksilver. That's like what I run on all my builds. This is like a must. I feel like having curses is, and I don't have a shock removal, which is what I plan on doing, but a seething of grounding and a seething of staunching with, you know, 2 curse removal flasks. You guys got to remember, I was doing self-found, and, you know, I was on a budget using a lot of alterations on maps, things like that. But overall, very, very successful self-found build, and transitioned buying a few items and getting lucky. I definitely got lucky finding a tabula rasa. You can do it with the tabula rasa now. I think I had around 3.8k HP. It just requires you to play with a little more finesse, and you can't really push your Arctic armor too much. I do feel like Carcass Jack is a good choice, especially if you're gonna go like Arctic armor with block. It's very, very good, and eventually you could run Grace to get more evasion. You don't really have any evasion multiplier nodes on the skill tree, but it's still very, very good. Any amount of evasion you can get is, I feel, because evasion is guaranteed. You're not going to get screwed out of your percentage, and having low armor to like next to none is almost kind of worthless, because the way armor works, the more you have it and the smaller the hits, the better it works. So, you know, having 1,000 armor, I would rather have 1,000 evasion in this case. Carcass Jack seemed to be the normal choice. What does area do for your flame blast? It actually makes the circle expand quicker. So, you know, to get to the same size without area, longer. So it allows you to release it sooner. So if you want to get a bigger pack, you know, you have to wait less. What does that mean as far as cast time? That means you get to be mobile quicker and get out of those sticky situations instead of having to kite and make small little circles. So overall, the build was super fun. You know, proof of concept. You know, I ended up, you know, ripping, and then I transferred some of these. These two items are what I replaced. Everything else remains the same. Oh, and this wand. This wand is not that great. 33 spell damage, 23 or 22 cast speed. It had slightly more cast speed, about the same amount of mana and lightning resistance. The crit multiplier doesn't really matter. I'm not crit based flame blast. And then a GG ring right here. Both the top two prefixes, the fire and lightning damage, I can't utilize since I'm not attack based, but the last 4 stats are very, very good. The implicit gives me more mana. And then this, which was a coral amulet, which is garbage on the implicit. However, I decided to Val Orbit in hopes of getting +1 curse. If I got +1 curse, I would have been able to drop Dodridge for another Ami. And it's got spell damage, cast speed, life, and chaos resistance, and more mana for my build. So overall, very, very, very effective. The prolif was super fun. I would strongly consider doing this again. It's just a shame that I died the way I did. But I'll start this canyon map, and as I'm walking through it, I can show you how potent it is. So usually on an easy map with, not much going on, I'll just flammability. That's pretty much all you need. And then you can see everything that just gets anywhere near. The rings are kind of hard to see on this particular thing, but everything just burns. Even, proximity base. I'll just do it off the edge, and then you'll see all these guys just die. So the area is very, very important. The cast speed, very, very important, and they all fall down. Oh yeah, I'm not running Arctic armor. That's bad. So another thing that Arctic armor gives me is movement speed. The movement speed comes from the quality. So you can get up to 7 out of 20/20. You can see I don't really have a problem with igniting or ignition, because the way elemental equilibrium works is it takes the best hit. So the more mobs you hit, the better chances that you're going to deliver a more devastating blow or a devastating burn, because it's going to take the best hit out of the entire pack and spread that hit. This build has been around for quite some time. You can do a discharge version of this. However, I feel like with discharge there are several critical drawbacks, and dealing with bosses, getting really close, where flame blast you can just shoot from afar. You can even do it behind walls. Throw a flame blast at an entrance and it will get the mobs around the corner. Let's see if I can find a rock and show you like a proof of concept. Okay, so these zombies are pretty slow. I am not an LOS of them, but I can drop a flame blast behind the rock and it'll tag everything behind it. So you can see how this could be very powerful against like Storm Herald, things of that type. Also, it is worth noting, on almost all my characters that I use now, that I'm all about the self-casting Enduring Cry. But with the new Echo Gem, you actually double your Enduring Cry cast. Let me show you where it is. Cast and damage taken, increased duration, Immortal Call. That's the trigger. Temp Chains does not get triggered because it exceeds the level of cast and damage taken, which is 31. See, this requires level 64. Therefore, I'm able to keep it linked and still self-cast it. So I have an option of Temp Chains and Feeble when shit hits the fan, or I can go aggressive with flammability. And Temp Chains will also increase my damage by increasing the the burn damage on the mob. So the actual ignite will ignite for longer. So it's kind of like hidden DPS that Temp Chains will give you, along with being able to turret. You know, sit there and cast instead of take many projectiles or many hits to the face before you have to move. So Temp Chains, flammability is a good alternative to keep you safe and keep that damage pumping. But the bread and butter is the Enduring Cry, Spell Echo, where I'm able to get, you know, max charges off of very few things. So see, that double cast is so nice. And then if I do get hit, okay, he didn't hit me. Let me go get hit. You see, I get a little over 3-second Immortal Call. With increased duration being 20/20, you should get about 5 seconds, and Immortal Call being 20 quality. And that's just off of, you know, doing this. So every 4 seconds I can cast 3 endurance charges, or net me 3 endurance charges that will last me 5 seconds. Pretty much giving you physical, not immunity, but really tanky, what do you call it? Periods of time where you don't have to worry about your life. So that's how you can pretty much go armorless. Utilizing Arctic armor and utilizing Echo with cast and damage taken Immortal Call. You will take the first hit up front because that's what's it's gonna take to trigger. I've also debated about leveling up cast and damage taken because any physical damage that I do take is going to be pretty substantial if it's a large number. Obviously, if they're little hits like titty bitches or these guys, they don't do much because Arctic armor. Let's just let some peacocks shoot at me. You can see the. Alright, so this is an exile. She's gonna go down with ease. I just Temp Chains Enfeeble her. Minion instability does hurt quite a bit. That's why you want to make sure you kill her minions down. Alright, here we go. Don't kill those. Alright, so Arctic armor is doing a lot here. If I put, you know, hit a granite, they're gonna do like no damage to me. And then if I want to be immune, just Echo. And I have Immortal Call. So even with 0 armor, you can still get to a very tanky point with physical mechanics. Arctic armor and Immortal Call, Enduring Cry. Alright, that's going to conclude the explanation of this build. I strongly feel that this build finishes, you know, gets all the necessities at 89. And my current level, I'd either probably pick up Sovereignty, and if I was going to drop any node in a hardcore league, it would probably be these to pick up either Sovereignty or to go Influence. You can go down and pick up more aura nodes to get stronger auras, run that Purity of Lightning, push your effectiveness to the limit, and everything else is just bonus. Like the Witch start right here, I consider all bonus. Something that you can do when your character feels very good defensively. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this guide works out for you. Don't eat and drink and play hardcore. Bad things will happen. Thank you guys, and I'll see you later.